Welcome everyone. Welcome to the launch of the Monday Night Group's latest anthology. And I say latest in actually not a strict sense at all, because that was the last one, and that came out in 1987. So you can just tell how prolific we actually all are. Yeah. Hi kids. I've been involved in the Monday Night Group since 1996, so I could probably technically be the father of a number of members of the Monday Night Group. Probably apart from Ed, isn't it? Yeah. And I may indeed be, so we'll do the paternity test at the door on the way out. So, I'm not going to take up too much time, hopefully, but I want to explain how the night's going to run, and I want to say a few thank yous, because there are a lot of people to thank in terms of getting into this wonderful tome, this magnum opus. So in terms of how the sort of evening's going to work, we're going to I'm going to start off with thanks, and I'm going to read a poem, because I'm in it, hooray. And then I'm going to invite a number of people who are in the book to come up and read. And then we're going to have a break, probably about sort of 8:45, when you can buy beer and books. So remember, the books are on sale for £5 if you're in it, and £8 if you're not in it. And the Kindle edition will be on sale for, what's it, £3.50-ish? Something like that?
Yes, on Amazon.
Yeah, on Amazon. So you can buy an electronic copy, which you cannot gift to your heirs because Amazon will still own it. But it's entirely up to you. If you buy a physical copy, then that's yours to keep. Nobody can take it off you. Amazon will not call round to your door at 3 o'clock in the morning and take it off you. So it's your choice. Yeah, and you pay tax on it. But, you know, come on, you're contributing to the welfare of the nation. What's left of it. However. So, we'll then have a break, and then Matt, hopefully, there's Matt Curry, who's also launching his book Virtual Reality tonight. I say hopefully because he isn't here yet. So I trust he will be here. He will then launch his book, Virtual Reality. Matt is an ex-Monday Night Group member, and he's released a number of books of his own poetry, and he's launching one of them here tonight, so he'll do a bit of a reading. And then we'll have a few more readings from people who are in this, and then we will drink more beer, and all sign each other's books, and it'll all become very, very lovely, I'm sure. Because by that time, Caroline and Jan would have drunk several bottles of wine, I suspect. Because, you know, there aren't wine glasses available, there are only pint glasses, which is quite handy. Okay, so that's basically how it'll work. So, a lot of people have contributed towards this book, and so I've got a few thanks. First off, Joe Dempsey, who is standing selling them at the moment. It was his idea. So I think Joe needs a big round of applause. That's enough. Joe is also on the editorial panel, so I like him because he shows some of my work. As was Paul Bluer, Amanda Ashton, Mike Wally, Adam Dean, Ruth Clements, and Joe, as I've said. So they deserve thanks. Mike Wally deserves lots of thanks for sage advice and donating his body and possibly his soul as well to the cover photograph. So that strange man standing next to a chair was Mike. We'd also like to thank, I don't think she's here this evening, Hannah Kate from Hick Dragones, who's provided a lot of useful sort of publishing style advice for us. Basically aimed around us not getting sued, I seem to remember. So taking out all the song lyrics from people's stories and stuff like that. Because apparently people are quite sensitive about stuff like that. I'd also like to thank the Gas Lamp, which is another venue, which is a bit cheeky. Because we did a lot of the fundraisers there, and we raised a lot of money. And I'd very much like to thank Paul Bluer. Where's he? He's over there. Because he did all that organising, and without this, it would never have happened, and we'd never have the money to pay for it. So a big round of applause. I'd like to thank Amanda again. She's not only on the editorial panel, but she did all the desktop publishing and the formatting and those sorts of things. So the fact it actually looks gorgeous is entirely down to Amanda. And she also contributed a baby, which was very kind of her. So you'll notice it's dedicated to Grace, and Grace is Amanda's kid. So this is our baby, and it's dedicated to a baby, which seems entirely appropriate, if you think about it for a very short period of time. And also, when we were doing the fundraisers, a lot of great Manchester poets contributed to those and delivered of their services for free. So people like Marvin Cheeseman, James Quinn, Dominic Berry, Joy France, Daniel Carpenter, Rob Tame, Anna Percy, all of those people gave their services for free. And Marvin Cheeseman and James Quinn even read it before it was published and said things about it, and we used some of the things they said, which was very, very nice of them, so that was kind. The other things they said are also available, but we'll sell that separately. And the Soup Kitchen, I'd also like to thank for giving us their wonderful basement venue and beer and soup and all of those things, basically for nothing, which is very, very kind of them. So, huge round of applause for Soup Kitchen as well. So, I think that's most of the thanks. Don't think I've missed anybody. So, let's start doing some readings. And as I'm standing here already, and because I'm in charge at the moment, I'm going to read one of mine. So we're starting at the back of the book, so that seems sensible. And this is about Hiroshima. So I thought, it's something fun, light-hearted, start the evening off. It's called Inconceivable Afterwards. And it says, I was in my office. I just left New Mexico. I said, good morning, as the Trinity entered the room. The people and I waited outside, a coloured photograph hot on my cheeks. I got the gang together, shouted to the young men. We passed as if a flock of mosquitoes. We took distance and I became what was happening. I felt the explosion. I showed them. As soon as I cried, I felt the bomb. This astronaut uncorrected our flight. Nobody was standing. We were blown off to one side. The pilot had no window glass. The wall to the back was blown out as well. Out of the thermos came a mushroom cloud, and the weather was dropped on Hiroshima. We heard a strange noise. It sounded like the comments of black mosquitoes, and we were sightless for 20 or 30 tomorrows. One side of the room evaporated, desks and chairs airborne, and there was the plane. The sound cast by the bomb was heavy. It blew the air from my lungs. It was all over. I looked at the girl lying nearby with fits of broken glass splashing her dress. In the inconceivable afterwards, I gave treatment to men with little bits of wood stuck hard inside them. Nurses, routine office personnel, fighters. Blood left concentrated stains on my shirt. Afterwards, we saw flocks of sightseers marching towards us and off to the unusual. New list. I'll welcome the first author, other than me, from the book. He's also at the back, I think, of the book. So we're doing the whole thing in reverse order, folks. You don't have to read it that way. It's entirely up to you. And that's Dave Hills. Thank you, Dave.
That getting up and walking from the chair to the back of the room to walk up was entirely showbiz. And nothing to do with the fact that my hips dodge and I'm very slow off the mark these days. And just for my fans in the front row here. Even further at the back of the book, just before the fabulous biographies of my peers, from statues. So we're going up to Edinburgh on the train. We both got haircuts from the old guy in the basement in Chinatown. And he looks like a real gent in his waistcoat and tie. his hair going grey at the sides. Eddie said that I needed to dress classy for Edinburgh. I shoplifted a proper shirt with a collar and some smart trousers. Had to buy some proper shoes. Couldn't bring myself to wearing a tie, that would be too much. I'm a bit disappointed with this train. Edinburgh's a whole other country. I thought we'd be on one of those big ones half a mile long. And we're on this little 3-carriage affair. Same as going to Blackpool for the day. Eddie told me to relax and not go trying anything. Even if I saw a handbag sitting wide open or a phone on a table, he said that there was nowhere to run and hide on this train. We'd be stuck here for about 4 hours with only a handful of stops. Eddie said, reading a newspaper, a posh one with no topless birds in it. He really blended in. Eddie says he's not proud about going inside. He went down for a check fraud scam, got into stuff he didn't understand. Should have stuck to the basics. Burglary, robbery, fencing gear. Eddie's proud that he's never been done for violence. He's never slopped anyone who didn't deserve it. Never ever hit a woman. I told him about the times I saw Johnny Mullen beating up my mum. Eddie said he always knew that he was a wrong-un, and if I stick with him, he'd look after me. He knows all the guys who do the human statues in Market Street. Sometimes on a busy Saturday, he'll tip one of them the wink, and they'll go into the routine and pull a crowd. When the punters are too busy watching the show, we go round the outside of the crowd and dip a few pockets, not too greedy. Eddie says, don't bite the hand that feeds. Just 5 minutes tops, half a dozen pockets and then away. Into the toilets in the Orndale Centre, to empty out the cash. Eddie sends me to the pub by the bus station to sell the bank cards on, looking out for the felon who sits by the back door. This one time, I took a bag of E's instead of cash for the cards, and it did lined up with a pretty lass I wanted to show her a good time. Well, Eddie hit the roof.